Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time.
Before we begin this episode, we have a whole lot of new patrons to give a shout out to. Thank you to Aradia, Julie, Sherbet Mango, Woody, Kat, Ellie, and Lindsay for joining us. Your support is so appreciated, and we've been feeling all of your love. And, of course, another shout out to Lurks, as always, for being our very own feral venerator of Soireen.
Today we're going to talk about the gender binary in the Wheel of Time, especially with respect to the one power and its two halves, Saidin and Saidar.
Yeah, so that was an episode that I was kind of very excited to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Saidin, Saidar. The Wheel of Time has this complicated saying that the gender binary is really at its source of its magical system, which is an interesting magical system. But as queer people that don't really relate to the gender binary in 2022, it feels weird.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I remember as I was reading it the first time and being amazed at how in depth this magic system is. And you know, like it's at that time I hadn't really come to terms with my own queerness, and so I was just viewing it as a fantasy reader. And I just really, really liked the intricacies of it. And now, as I'm very slowly doing my next reread, it's really glaring how contrary this is to me as an individual, and I'm sure to a lot of other queer people. It's tricky.
Yeah, I agree. It's so I'm still doing my reread. I'm not going very fast on that because I don't have that much time to read.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true that you really feel that in general there's really men versus women in this world. And it's even more true when you talk about Saidin and Saidar, because how they are defined and how they are manipulated definitely dig into gender stereotypes very hard.
Oh yeah.
It's women have to submit and men have to size and dominate power. And yeah.
Yeah, like, I get where Jordan was coming from with how he tried to reverse or upend some of these stereotypes, but he did it from within this very binary framework, which, I don't know, for the time that he wrote it in, it sort of was the general thing, but it also wasn't. Like, just depends on where you were. And so I don't really necessarily fault him for that, because a lot has changed these last 15 years for the better in how we understand gender.
Sure.
So there's always going to be some awkwardness with how his writing comes across, and we don't always get the fact that he was trying to upend these stereotypes because, again, he was operating within the system, not trying to create a new one.
Yeah, but like, so that's a weird thing, because from other part of the system, it seems like Jordan was trying to kind of reverse patriarchy on some point.
Yeah.
But like when you look at description of Saidin and Saidar, they are clear, direct gender stereotype that was there back then. It's not an evolution of those gender stereotypes or a reversal of those stereotypes.
Yeah.
It's like Saidar, it's gentle but powerful. It requires patience to be persuaded. A woman must submit to it in order to access it. You have to guide its flow. You really have to surrender to it, and that's why Nynaeve has so many issues with her blog. It's because she refused to surrender to it.
Right.
Meanwhile, Saidin is like a raging torrent. It's tempestuous. It's an untamed force and must be coerced. It's really like men who cannot like handle their like anger.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it really feels like that.
yeah, it feels almost biblical, like if you like in some ways, where like the biblical definitions of what a wife is supposed to be and what a husband is supposed to be. It's as you were reading it, I was like, oh my god, it really does sound like it sounds very like Baptist, like old school Baptist theology, where like the wife is supposed to submit and be very submissive and very patient and kind and love, like, and generous and all of those things. And the husband is supposed to be very, like the husband has the authority and the husband takes charge and all of that. And it wasn't until you were reading it, I was like, oh my God, this sounds like, I feel like I'm back in church almost. It's weird.
Yeah. It's like, and it's really weird because so women must submit to Saidar, but men must make Saidin submit to them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've really. That's
it wasn't until you read it and it just clicked in my mind. I was like, wow, that is.
This is really like all gender binaries that like our parent generation had to deal with. Like it's less of a thing nowadays, but like it's men wield the power like a weapon. I love my quotes.
It's almost as if the patriarchal symbol of the sword, the phallus that men wield throughout a lot of fantasy, has been replaced, and instead of coming up with something new, Robert Jordan just replaced it with a only slightly less phallic symbology. And I mean, I guess it's more interesting than just, a man swings sword, chops his enemies up. And, especially later on in the series, it becomes more interesting when Rand deals with the cleansing and overcoming his own darkness. But still, when you boil down the Saidar, I forget which one is which.
Saidar is a woman.
And I'm about to get canceled by so many Wheel of Time people.
No, it's like every week I feel like people are messing those two up.
Yeah.
I just remember because the notes are in front of my eyes.
There you go.
Yeah, of all the things that people would cancel me over, it's forgetting
it's gonna be this
basic lore for Wheel of Time.
It's gonna be this.
So it's gonna be this.
Sometimes we should bet on when Matt will mention canceling.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little early in this episode.
Yeah. And that was for such a little mistake, like with Saidin and Saidar. Like everyone mess them up.
Okay, you do not see some of those Twitter of Time accounts tweeting like sentence level, like, oh, on page 620 and a half of book number 2, Rand says this specific thing and it has a comma after it, not a period. And I don't know what that means. I'm going to dissect it for a 20 tweet thread.
So you've been on Theoryland. Okay.
I've been on Twitter a time. It's those people that are going to come into my mentions.
They don't care enough. They're too caught up.
Yeah, they too busy dissecting the Wheel of Time. One time I ended up on a very funny thread. Well, no, it's someone started the thread under one of my tweets where they were making a game of finding out the oldest Aes Sedai. And it was 2 or 3 people playing that and saying, is that this person? No, this one is only that old. And I'm like, that was amazing, but gosh, how the fuck do you know so many things about the Wheel of Time?
I don't know how people keep that information in their brains.
I mean, everyone has their passion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, everyone has their little bits of trivia that they're really good at.
That's a good point.
No, I mean, Saidin and Saidar, I mean, men are angry and women are peaceful. It makes sense.
Yes. That's pretty much that.
Except for angry girl Nynaeve and soft boy Perrin.
Yeah, and look how much trouble it gets them because they don't respect the gender binary.
Wait a minute.
For real.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute.
This is exactly why Nynaeve has a blog.
Hold on a minute.
She doesn't respect the gender binary.
Because she doesn't know her place as a woman in society.
Oh, no.
Naughty man, Robert Jordan.
So, the Nynaeve part had definitely clicked for me. And I think I'm really interested to see how the show is going to tackle that. Especially because Nynaeve is being played by a Black woman. And the angry Black woman stereotype is it's all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see how they portray it. But I hadn't really considered the parent side. I mean, parent is slightly different because he's not able to channel, but still, like the base, I think, of that idea is definitely there. Where like parent is, I mean, essentially punished for being soft in quotation marks.
Well, soft in some ways.
Yeah. Well.
Well, in the books, it's mostly soft. So we get that gender binary, but we also see Jordan trying to have men and women collaborate. Like there's a lot of mention on how channelers say like their power gets amplified when they actually work together, and that's how they are able to do some of the most incredible things they have ever done with the power. And I thought that was a pretty neat thing to have that mostly in the world building, because except for a few exceptions, we mostly don't see men and women like using the power together. Especially earlier in the series, it becomes more prominent, like in the last few books. But yeah,
it doesn't ever really. We don't get to see the full potential of it, other than the cleansing of Saidin, and then at the end, in Memory of Light. And even then, I don't think we reach the full potential of what it could be. So I mean, I've always thought it was like a really, really interesting thought of men and women working together and how that's how the best things are created. I get where Robert Jordan was coming from and what he was trying to get at of like unity and stuff and breaking down these gender barriers, but it just really resonates more than I think he intended, at least with me, because for me, I read it as people are less bothered by the whole man and woman thing, and people are just happy to work together and do literally amazing things, and you can't do them on their own. So it's just abolish the binary, said Robert Jordan.
Yeah. And also, so the part of it also creates some weird balance problem in the books, because so for example, among the men and women are better when working together, there's this idea that men are better at healing stealing and women are better at healing gentling. Which results that if a woman tries to heal stealing, so it's women, meaning another woman having lost her power, the woman being healed end up with a lower amount of power than she used to.
Right. They're at, if you're healed by stilling or gentling of the opposite sex, you're at full potential. But if you're healed by the same sex, then you're at half potential.
Right.
Or your power's cut in half. Yeah.
Right.
Which is an interesting idea.
It is.
But in the books, what happens is that you get women that comes back to the power with half their potential, and we don't really see the equivalence with men. And it fall in a dynamic where powerful women lose their power in the books, which would deserve its own episode because it happens to so many women in those books.
A lot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we see so many more female channelers than we do male channelers, but still it's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that whole mechanic of, like the opposite sex needs to heal in order for their power to be back at full, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much if we had seen it equally happen, like if we had seen it, equally happen. But it's that you only see the half power happen to women, which is frustrating.
And I just don't get why, like, even if it has been healed once by a woman, why an Asherman couldn't just check them up and maybe heal them better? Or like worst case, you steal them again and you heal them again, and it's a clan cut.
I remember that being a question at one of the interviews that I read, and if they are healed again, they would just be returned to their half power because that is now their new power level.
That's fucked up.
Come on.
That sucks. God. Yeah. It's
Come on.
I'm not in charge.
I know. It's just
I know you're not in charge. It's just sad.
You could be.
Because so the thing is that if it was the only example of women losing their power, it would be fine. But like we literally have Perrin with like 3 different
queens
Yes.
following him around.
Mm-hmm. It's not just a channeling thing.
No.
It is it's a women
Yes.
lose power thing.
Yes, it is.
What man loses their power? I mean, I guess you could argue that Logain loses pretty much everything, but he also gets it all back.
But he gets it all back. That's the thing.
And who knows what happens to Oleander and Morgaze. I'm sure someone tell us in the comments. Wait, there's no comments for a podcast. Never mind.
Oh, they'll add us on Twitter.
I was just going to say, they'll tweet at us. Don't worry about it. They will tweet at us.
Oh, yeah.
I actually don't remember on which server that was, but someone asked whether there was any significant woman characters that actually did not either lose their power or was infantilized, like diminished, this kind of thing. And we did not have that many named.
Min.
I was going to say, but then...
I mean, no, Min is literally a lamp.
Swan, maybe?
But then she's like, I mean, she's diminished in a different kind of way, in that, like,
right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so even with that, it's like, okay, well, cool.
Which name you said, Matt?
Catswane, I don't know.
Catswan, yeah.
Catswain, yes.
That's true. Yeah,
Could
that's
be.
a good point. Yeah, Catswain. I'm trying to think of who else? I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, honestly.
I would argue maybe Varen, because her final act does result in some real fuckery for Dark Friends.
Yeah, I mean, Varen doesn't really, like, lose anything.
No, she doesn't.
I mean, it depends on whether you consider life is important to lose or not.
To her, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think she did. I think her doing it on her own terms and doing it in a way that made her, I guess, not if not more powerful, it diminished the power of others.
Yeah.
And led to lots of executions.
Yeah. I would argue that Varen is one of the few women throughout the series that is the most in control of her own fate, because, like, you know, she's playing multiple different sides, and in the end, she does, like, for me, it's maybe in my top 3 moments of the series. Like, she does one of the most badass things, and you find out she's been playing the long game for, like, books and books and books. And it's just, I wish there were more examples of that throughout the series, of, like, women who are completely in control, and, you know.
Tuon
is complicated.
Well, yes, but no, I'm just trying to think of, like, I mean, the entire series is about people making sacrifices.
Yes.
Like, men and women are all brought down several pegs.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a man who's not diminished or loses his power at some point in some way. And I'm having a hard time coming up with men as well. Yeah. So maybe Robert Jordan just had a thing for punishing people in general, regardless of their gender.
Maybe.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice everybody.
Spanks for everybody.
Everyone gets spanks.
We had to go there again. I
mean, Robert Jordan was the Oprah of spanking. You get a spank, and you get a spank. Everybody gets a spank.
Do you think they had, like, body shapers in there? I'm sure they did.
Spanks? Oh. I mean, in the Age of Legends, I'm sure they did.
Okay, sorry, back on topic.
So, trying to remember other characteristic of Saidin Saidar, there was also a few, like, gender-related rules regarding linking. Most of them are kind of incomprehensible. Like, it's like, only women can start a circle, but the circle is limited by, like, 13 unless you have a man in it, and then you can increase the number of, like, channeler and that. It's weird.
Yeah, those seemed like superfluous rules that were, like, just added. They didn't seem to make any kind of sense in the lore.
How dare Robert Jordan make us do math? How dare he make us think of math?
That's very homophobic.
Extremely homophobic.
Yeah, the gays are bad at math.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm there. I know to drive. I know to do math.
Wow, look at me. I'm Camille. I'm functioning.
That's not what I said.
You're all fancy and living in Camelot or wherever.
In what?
looking down on us with your...
Yes, the UK, all of the UK is now Camelot.
Camelot, yeah.
I don't know.
Ye old Camelot.
Ye old Camelot.
And it's old with an E at the end, just to be clear.
So one thing we did not mention, I'm still trying to keep us on track, like in case you haven't noticed yet.
Oh my god, yeah, you're herding all of the kids like sheep. I get it. Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Okay. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
No, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
I have no idea what to say. Anyway, so still about the power, one thing that is often mentioned is the strength of the power. In the sense that on average, like that's the main gender thing. Let's be real. Like male channeler can channel more of the power than female channelers, similar to the gender difference in physical strength. However, like women channelers are supposedly better in dexterity.
It comes from the ability to sew, because all women can sew.
Those dexterous fingers.
That's for lesbians only.
Yeah, it's a lesbian specific skill.
Yeah, so that's all. Like it blows my mind that like men are better regarding strengths, but the White Tower, which is an association of women channeler, has this whole hierarchy based on power strengths, which is like the characteristics that is more favorable to men. Like why would they not, like, I don't know, have a hierarchy based on dexterity if women are indeed better at dexterity? Why are they like ranking themselves based on the characteristics that is more favorable to men?
I mean, it would make more sense if they were to like base people's off of age, I guess. Kind of like how the kin does. Strength it's a very odd thing. I agree. It always seemed like at odds with the rest of the White Tower. Like once you're raised a sister, you suddenly have to be very keenly aware of everything and defer to people that are even like 0.1% stronger than you. I don't even know like how accurately they can tell. Is it a yes no button? Is it a very, very... It's an odd thing that wasn't like super explored, I don't think.
Yeah.
It feels like Robert Jordan basically filled out a lot of D&D character sheets for his Aes Sedai and was like, well, I did all this work and god damn it, I am not going to let it go to waste.
Well, no, and that was something I was thinking of, was like no other magic system has as detailed a ranking as the Wheel of Time. Like there are how many ranks? Like I'm going to Google this really quick because
it's so specific.
And that, like, they have a first type of ranking, and then they found people that are like that doesn't even fit the scale, so they change the ranking, and then they found more people that don't fit the scale, so they change the ranking again, and it becomes a freaking mess when you try to understand what's the strength of someone.
Yeah, so it used to be 1 to 60, and now it is 1 to 72.
Oh my god!
So there are 72 levels of strength in the one power.
Wow.
And then an additional, it's...
That's a choice.
That's insane.
I'm pretty sure, like, he put some people on the top, and then he was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna have a channel that is even more powerful than that. Oh shit, it doesn't fit my scale anymore. Okay, let's make a new scale."
I appreciate the thought behind it, which is like the Wonder Girls and the Age of Legends people, like those people just came in and blew everything out of the water. So it makes sense that he would need to create a new scale. And I get it. I honestly don't know if the strength level was for anything but Robert Jordan to see.
That is my suspicion too.
Well, now we all get to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was reading the Tor.com article on it, and there's this mathematical formula in here that is just upsetting to me to look at as a gay person.
No.
Would that upset me too, or
no? It would not upset you. It's talking about correlating life expectancies based off of the 72 levels in the one power strength chart, because that directly correlates.
Yeah.
I think Matt and I made the same face, like at the same time, just like, Oh God!
Oh.
Just like this grimace.
Oh.
Like you heard correlation and then you panicked.
James linked the formula for us, so I'm just going to read this. F parentheses x equals negative 0.00208023x to the third power plus 0.264216 x to the second power minus 17.5246 times plus 816.74. You don't need this shit in a goddamn fantasy novel. Just give us some wizards, dragons, and shit.
Okay. I'm watching the numbers for that first terms, and I'm sorry to say, it just like someone found it funny to plot all the age versus the general level, and then took like whatever like Python or like MATLAB or whatever they were using to try to find a like something that would fit, and like use different power of X. And I'm like, I'm sure it's overfitting the data, and it's absolutely not. Like Jordan probably just made it something very linear or maybe quadratic, and that's it.
Yeah, this was because I don't think... okay, so yeah, there's a quote from Jordan that says, for example, at the so-called 800-year level, a person could reasonably be expected to live between 775 and 825 years, with some making it to 850 and very few making it to as much as 900. Strength level 56, parentheses 44, was the 300-year age level, 67, parentheses 55, the 200-year age level, and the bottom level, 72, parentheses 60, approximately the 150-year level for women. The male equivalents were approximately 240, 180, and 135. So women still live longer than men.
Well, some things never change, I guess.
Rafe, if you're listening to this, please do not incorporate this into the show. We don't need it.
Don't do this shit.
No, I want it in there, but I want it in like a background scene with Varen trying to calculate all of it, and I don't want anyone to say anything about it.
You know what? That is possibly the only way I would accept something like that being on the show. If Varen is doing it.
Yeah, it can be some weird equation on the whiteboard of a Branaja, and that's it.
Yeah. It's just it's so upsetting that this exists. I'm sorry.
Math, y'all.
Hey, I love math.
I know, I love it. I love that it exists. It is like a super detailed level of nerdy that I really like. It just complicates everything.
My mind just can't comprehend it.
I mean, so Rand, Moradin, and Ravine are the strongest people in the entire world, so...
Okay.
Good for them. Since we're talking about strength, power is divided in 5 powers. Yes. Random guess. Which one are men better at, and which one are women better at?
Men are better at the angry and stoic powers, whereas women are better at the flowing and wistful powers.
So let me guess. Fire and earth are for men.
Because women are so flowy and wistful.
Wait, did you not know this, Matt?
No.
Oh.
Okay, no, everybody please, at this point in the episode, I would like everybody to pause, go to Twitter, at Matthew L. Reyes, and call him a dumbass.
If you're listening to that like months after we've recorded, you can come to our Discord and just you at Matt and you tell him James told us to tell you that you were a dumbass. We would love to see that.
I don't want you to get canceled. I just want you to know your place. Like women in the Wheel of Time.
These books are like 2,000 pages a piece of people taking baths and smoothing their skirts and looking at their boobies. I don't got time to look at who's doing fire, spirit, earth, air, water, and Captain Planet shit. I just want to know what happens with the dragon. That's all I want to know. I don't care about the other stuff.
You're all about that dragon's piece.
That's just basic lore. Wait, how many rings were given to the elves in The Lord of the Rings?
I don't know, 11? 10? 8? 13?
Oof.
Cat.
Oof.
Okay, well, you know what? If I were to quiz y'all on Stephen King things, you would all fail. So there.
That's true.
We all have our things, and that's okay.
Yeah, but this is a Wheel of Time podcast. So again, if you haven't already told Matt that he's a dumbass, please take that time right now. Also mention I love you, Matt.
I don't love you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so yes, men are stronger in fire and earth, and women are stronger in air and water, and spirit is distributed equally.
Which is interesting.
I mean, spirit doesn't do anything on its own. It's always with something else. Or, well, no, you delve with just spirit, I think.
Isn't compulsion spirit-based? Does it use something else?
I feel like there's something else. It's
pretty sure compulsion.
What was that?
Nope, I was going to say something and decided that it was not appropriate for this podcast.
It's not appropriate for this podcast? Oh boy.
I was just going to say that compulsion is pussy-based and not spirit-based.
Jesus.
I mean, we knew Robert Jordan was going to go there, if not spirit, so.
Oh boy.
And for everybody who can't see, my co-hosts' faces are all in various states of absolute.
We're used to it.
Dismay.
We're used to it now.
Oh yeah, spirit's the only one that can be channeled while sleeping.
Ah, okay. Okay, that makes sense. I knew there was something about spirit. I just couldn't.
But overall, it's like the least used for everything, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's used a lot with all the Dreamtown Grial, like typically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I should have remembered that. So one last thing that I wanted to mention a bit regarding the books, because so far we've been talking mostly about Saidin, Saidar is handled, are handled in the books. One thing that I wanted to mention is that there exists a genderless power, a genderless magical source in the Wheel of Time, and that's the fucking true power.
Yep.
Yeah, the evil one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the evil. Good job, Matt.
It is.
That is the evil one.
Fuck off. Piss off, wanker.
The worst is what I'm sorry to say, but when you look at how like the ball was made, why it was made, it's actually very fucked up because it just SCI researchers that were like, oh, this gender binarity of the one power is kind of making it complicated. It's very limited. Maybe we should find a source of energy that we could both use, and maybe it would be better for all of us. It was really for the a research purpose, and that's actually why Lanfear was there. Like she felt that the gender split was a significant impediment for further progress, and they basically made the ball because they were trying to find a genderless source of power.
Yeah.
So basically, the attempts to make gender-neutral bathrooms is what led to the downfall of mankind.
Exactly.
According to Robert Jordan.
You heard it here, folks. According to Robert Jordan.
He was not thinking about... Okay, but...
I know.
I get where he... I like it... but I don't like the idea of something gender neutral being like evil coded.
Yeah.
So it is really kind of like fucked up.
We all agree.
I don't think he had any idea of what non-binarity was because it was not something that we were talking about that time. Like gender, there were stereotypes about gender, and some people had some conscience of like those stereotypes kind of sucks. But overall, non-binarity was not saying.
Yeah, I mean, trans people were still called transvestites, and it was viewed as like a mental illness.
Yeah.
Until like relatively.
I mean,
later on when he was writing the series. So
yeah.
But still, that made me feel a lot for Lanfear. Like she was just there saying gender is bullshit.
She was saying, fuck the gender binary.
Okay, so, I mean, let's not all forget that Lanfear was, like, super evil, too.
Yes!
Like, it's not like she was doing this as a, revolutionary thing. She was pretty evil, but I get it.
I will always support women's wrongs. I just want to come out and say
you can fix her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to look back to James's point, being trans was no longer considered a mental disorder in 2012, as opposed to homosexuality, which was like 1972, I think, maybe.
Jesus.
That's so cool.
Well, at least according to the APA.
Have fun.
And it depends the country, I think.
Yeah, I'm talking about the American Psychiatric Association.
There's only one country, and it's called America.
Fuck that.
That's true. It's America.
I'm sorry. If anybody's going to get canceled in this podcast, it's going to be me for being like, women need to know their place. There's only one country. It's America.
It's America.
I mean, as long as you're not Burger King, who tried to make a tweet joke about how women belong in the kitchen.
Oh my God.
It was so bad.
I don't know. I do think Lanfear basically opening Pandora's box and trying to get like some limitless energy type of thing is kind of funny. But I do liken it more to like nuclear energy and like Oppenheimer and
yes.
It really feels like, comic supervillain when they're trying to reach a very big source of power and something blow into their mind, like blow themselves, and suddenly they have like
they blow themselves.
Suddenly they get like magical powers and they get crazy.
Oh, superhero origin story.
Yeah.
Super villain origin story.
Yeah.
Villain and superhero origin story.
Yeah.
I think it's a problem that arises from making the main power source based on gender, because anything that you have that opposes that is going to automatically be coded as something
evil.
That's evil. Yeah. So like I'm more like likely like James to liken it to nuclear power and the source of a more destructive way of gaining power through energy, and not so much Robert Jordan saying that non-binary people are bad or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there's that unfortunate connotation. It's
Yeah.
The parallels are there and they're pretty prevalent. So
yeah.
Anyway, we can move to the TV show. Like, there's not a lot to say about how they're handling the power yet, because we haven't seen a lot of what they're doing, especially regarding to gender binary. And, okay, so do you guys remember when the show came out and a lot of folks were like, are they merging Saidar and Saidin?
No, I saw this in the notes and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
How did you miss that?
People had meltdowns over this. Over this.
Was this before or after the like 5 Taviran nonsense blow up?
I mean, it may have been around the same time. Yeah.
Okay.
Part of it was during episode 4, because Nynaeve suddenly has this burst of power and everyone was like, was Logain able to see her weaves?
I remember that.
Which is so fucking stupid, because Moraine and Alan literally said earlier in that episode that no, like they cannot see Logain's weave. So why would Logain be able to see her weave?
Yeah.
And I remember, don't quote me on this, but I remember something from Sarah Nakamura or Rafe saying that scene wasn't as clear as they wanted it to be in regards to like who could see what, because when I saw that scene, I assumed Logain could see the weaves, but I knew he couldn't, so I just assumed it was like done not poorly, just I get what they were going for, but they did miss a little bit.
Yeah.
Not poorly, but it could have been done a bit better, clearer.
Better.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it.
But yeah, I mean, I was a staunch defender of the whole, like, no, Nynaeve is literally, like, doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She's doing this all based on her willpower. So it is uncontrolled. It is all feeling-based. Of course she's going to be dramatic about it.
Of course.
Yeah, for me, it's like she produced a lot of wind. She produced probably a lot of light too. Like she was a nuclear bomb. You don't see the nuclear reaction, but you definitely see the bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do remember Sarah Nakamura saying, like that the intention was for people to see that Logain was reacting to the effect of Nynaeve's healing. And so there was there was all kinds of dust. And also he's literally seeing people being healed in front of him, flesh being knit back together and all of that. Yeah.
And his own weave got repelled by Nynaeve power, and that's something that he can see.
Oh yeah, he can see that for sure. Yeah.
So it wasn't conveyed in the best way. It definitely could have been done better, but if you look at it, and this is unfortunately something that benefits book readers more, because a show watcher would assume that Logain is seeing it and then have to have it explained to them why he's not. But yeah, if you in the books, men and women can sense each other's powers in certain ways, and even if Logain couldn't see the light, he could have seen the dust flying, like the shock wave. moving dust particles, the healing, like it's all there. It's all obvious. But yeah, people got so much in a twist about it.
And there were also a lot of people upset about episode 8 because there's a conversation between Moraine. No, not linking. There was a conversation between Moraine and Rand where Rand asked Moraine if she could teach him. And she says no because she's like, if I teach you, you're going to touch to the madness and we don't want you to get mad before seeing the Dark One. When Moraine cannot really teach him because she's channeling Saidar and is channeling Saidin. The thing is, if she wanted to explain that, then you have to go into a 5-minute rant about Saidin versus Saidar, and men channeling a certain thing, women channeling certain, like another thing. And I mean, that was not a moment that was...
It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work in that specific episode. And we're going to have seasons, we're going to have episodes later on in the White Tower when the girl are literally going to learn.
Right. When they're literally at lesbian wizard school, there will be an info dump.
Like plenty of multiple info dumps,
So I just, that was not the time to talk about that. But a lot of people were like, oh, they are changing this power system. Like, see, she did not tell him that she could not teach him. And I don't know, so just...
I think a lot of it comes from people just not... necessarily understanding the differences between explaining something in a book and explaining something on screen, where the things that work in a book, they don't work necessarily on screen. And also asking show readers, like show only watchers, to sit and listen to Moraine explain for 5 minutes, and that's minimum 5 minutes, about the difference between Saidin and Saidar and why she couldn't teach, getting into all of that. Asking them to sit in a season finale, come on, it's just, it doesn't make sense.
And if they want to know more about how the system works, the origins, there's an origin episode about Saidin and Saidar,
exactly,
which is since San Diego Comic-Con, we now have the confirmation that the origins episode are show canon. So what's happening in those episodes are true to the world building of the show. So I mean,
well, it's just everybody has to have an opinion, and everyone thinks, Twitter with social media, everyone thinks that, oh, I have an opinion, thus it's, I'm a movie critic or I'm a book critic, and there's so much people conflating. For instance, I didn't like this with this was badly written. There's a lot of people conflating the show didn't say this exactly as I saw it being said in the books, therefore it's not a good adaptation. And they're missing a whole lot of things.
And I feel like a lot of people started watching the show while already not having any sort of faith in it. And when you're already not trusting something, that means that at any tiny thing happening, it's going to kind of trigger you and make you angry because you're already not trusting it to see what they're going to do with the changing them showing us.
And give people time, give the writers time to get into that. It's, again, it's books and TV are two very different mediums. You can't expect the same kind of thing. It just doesn't work. And so give the writers, have a little faith, give the writers time to actually get there. In season 2, I think we are going to get a lot about Saidar, Saidar especially, but about both Saidar and Saidin. We're going to get a lot about it. And I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. Was there any other change the show made regarding to the power?
Oh, I was just thinking about linking. That's not really a...
Yeah.
It is a big change that they made, but again, they're upping how crazy powerful the one power is. It's not... Because in the books, it could... someone could wield this magic, but it could be kind of, meaningless if they can't really do anything. Like Morghese.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas here, Amalisa, they amped her up. I mean, well, they made her a channeler, but even an accepted could do something like that. It's kind of crazy. So I like the change that they made with linking. I know not everyone isn't a fan, but it adds drama to it, because otherwise it's the buffer just makes it too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it works better.
It's overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what happens. I mean, I'm very honest in that episode 8 was my least favorite episode for many reasons, but oddly, I think the reasons that it was one of my least favorite episodes are not shared by the people who are just endlessly hating on it, which I think is probably a good sign.
Yeah.
It was choppy, but we'll get to that when we do our rewatch later in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
we're rewatching it?
Yeah, in preparation for season 2.
Oh, yeah. Before season 2, baby.
We have to make content, Matt. At some point, that could be a good type of content.
Did you know that podcasts have to talk about the things that they're about?
I just assumed that was just going to go off of memory.
Bitch, your memory ain't that great.
Oh, you want to go? My memory is fantastic when it counts.
Oh, no.
That sounded weirdly sexual, but maybe I'm just horny.
Maybe.
Christ almighty. I have a Catholic-esque candle here, but it's to the patron Saint Jane Austen.
Anyway.
I'll have to pretend it's Jesus so that James's filth doesn't come near me.
So the last I'm gonna
Doesn't come near you.
He's like, please just let me.
I'm just trying to get back on topic. So yes, back on topic. One of the change I don't think we mentioned is about strengths. We were saying that men were more powerful than women. No, like Logain maybe not as powerful as Egwene, and is definitely less powerful than Nynaeve.
Yeah.
Which is a difference from like the scale that we had in the books. I'm fine with that.
Oh, for sure. Me too.
Nynaeve is a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with changing the power scale. Like,
No.
They haven't even really touched on the fact that some people are weaker in the one power.
No, not really. I mean, I think they did with Amalisa, right?
I mean, well, right, but...
They talk about Amalisa, and there's also a mention that only Karene, Alana, Liandrin, and Moraine are able to shield Logain.
Are strong enough, right.
You're right.
That's right.
So that means that some Aes Sedai are not strong enough
Are not
to
as
do so.
strong.
Which is, I mean, yeah, the only time we really... Well, no. I was just thinking about traveling later. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I honestly think they're building, it's like specifically the lore parts of it and the intricacies of it, they're building it up slowly to give show-only fans time to like absorb that. Because they can't just drop all of that on people all at once. It's way too much.
And the Eye of the World did not like dump that much about the power. Like we did know about Saidin and Saidar, but it was very vague. There's a lot about the power we didn't know.
Yeah.
A lot that we learned that when the girl arrived at the White Tower.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anything else? I think, Kat, you had a mention about... I think it's still an unreliable narrator or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's... I think just... I was thinking about, it's... Especially Moraine said a couple of times in season 1 of just, really bringing home the fact of, like, they don't know things as much as they think that they do. And just of, like, specifically talking about the prophecies, but I think that we'll see that kind of happen with the one power as well, where, like, it will really be stressed of like, this is how we think it works. And then finding out, oh, this is very much not how it works, or it's so much more than what we thought it would be. And I think that's a really, it has really good potential of like thinking specifically of non-binary people or trans people and how they will be included and incorporated into the show. And I think they have a really good opportunity here to expand the system that Robert Jordan already created with this, and I think it would flow really nicely with just like, we thought it worked this way, it does not work this way, or it's even more than we thought it was.
Right, and I think that's kind of inherent to. I mean, they explored a little bit with prophecies. Like prophecy is always everybody thinks they mean one thing, they actually mean a different thing. But I like the idea that the Aes Sedai aren't like all-knowing wizards or something.
Yeah.
It's cool that they get to be wrong about something.
I mean, it's not so much that the Aes Sedai aren't all-knowing, and it's that they're basically, they don't know anything at all. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
it's like a.
I mean,
I view the Aes Sedai as that person that everyone had in elementary school or junior high school who was like corrected the teacher and they were just absolutely wrong about everything, but they were so convinced they were right.
Are you talking about the book or the show?
Oh yeah, sorry, the books.
Yeah.
The books.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they have that with the Aiel.
Which is very frustrating too. I kind of don't like what was done with the Aes Sedai because it's like at first you kind of is presented this group of women that are Aes Sedai and are supposed to be like the main group of gender, and then the more you discover other group, like all of them consider Aes Sedai as trash, and I'm like, I mean, they were trying to do something good in the world at least. Like, yes, they don't know everything, but a little bit of respect. Like, I don't know.
They're trash. They're all trash.
They're absolute trash.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating how incompetent Robert Jordan made them at some point. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
there's some reason for that, but at the same time, it's I can't really believe that a group like that would be so incompetent all the time.
I mean, the Forsaken are super incompetent all the time. Everyone's incompetent all the time.
Yeah, I think all the time, like everyone in the series is incompetent.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, the Aes Sedai are still kind of like all powerful. Like everyone still respects them, even if they don't like respect them as people or as an institution. Like the power that they wield is undeniable. So
So how do you think the show could try getting rid of some of the binaries that annoys us?
I like the idea that the binary, the Saidin Saidar binary, is really just a construct, just like gender is a construct. Like it's only limiting because they think it is. So they're so ingrained in this whole I am a woman, that means I can only do Saidar. And I mean, to a degree that might be true, but I don't know that even though the world is based on the gender binary, I think it could be explored a little bit differently. Do I think the show's going to do that? No. I just like the idea that it could be a self-limiting thing rather than a world thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
A bit like so many in our society are self-limiting themselves because of gender stereotype and gender like constraint.
Yeah, I'm not sure about like how specifically they could I guess degender or make the show less binary as long as they don't. And this is like the risk that they run if they try to over-explain it. If they try to over-explain it, then it becomes an issue. And this is sort of the intersection between having queerness casually in a show and being a fully integrated part of the show, and having queerness be an actual theme of the show. And I think they'd have to be careful to not put themselves in the quagmire of having to explain these issues, if that makes sense. Because then that detracts from the main points of the story. I don't know.
Yeah.
Make it casual.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could give the like non-Saidin Saidar powers to more non-binary people.
Yeah.
Like that would be interesting to me.
Just have them be more not necessarily common, but not as rare as they are in the series, you mean?
No, I mean like with Min and the dream, or not the visions and stuff, like they're very clearly non-binary-ish in the show.
Right.
Giving like, I don't know, like the Wolf Brother stuff, like breaking down the gender binary a little bit with that would be interesting to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic that isn't Saidin Saidar in the books that isn't really explained a lot, and I think the show could expound on those and just have them be like gender neutral powers.
Right.
And that would be good.
So that reminds me, so when I was at WordCon, so I did a panel on queerness with Dao Sidai. I shared a theory that I really liked about all of those powers, and it's kind of the Wheel of Time used a bunch of different type of powers, the one power, the true power, dreaming means visions, Wolf Brother, and like even the darkness from Shadar Logoth, and all of them seem unconnected. But what if we could have like some unifying theory to explain them all? And a non-binary type of power could be like another type of power that we haven't discovered yet, but could still be explained under this unifying theory.
Right.
I just like that because the unifying theory is actually something very like, it's a big question in physics, in the sense that in our physical world, I'm going to try to keep the rant a bit short.
No, please. I want Professor Camille.
Yeah.
So, okay. So our world, we have most of our physical phenomenon explained by we have two main theory. We have the general relativity, which is where gravity plays its role. It's how we explain movement of galaxy, movement of planets, all the like infinitely big. And then we have quantum mechanics, which is divided in three things. It's like electromagnetivity, so electricity and magnetism, which it's already a unified theory because at first we didn't know that electricity and magnetism were related. It's also like strong interaction, which is what makes like proton and neutron stick together to create a nuclei. And we have the weak interaction, which is radioactivity. And all of those three things, it's like quantum mechanics, which works for the very small. And the thing is that, so we have those two theories that make sense in their own field, but contradict each other when you try to generalize them, which kind of doesn't make sense in the physical world, because why would you have two very different ways to explain physics that are unconnected and you cannot like bring them together? So that's why like there's this theory of everything, which would be a unified theory that would explain all the infinitely big and infinitely small with something that is consistent in both cases. And I love that idea, and I think that's something that could maybe explain the different way power works in the Wheel of Time. So yeah, it's...
Are you listening, Rafe?
I mean, I don't think we have any sort of time for that in the TV show, but like that's completely something that I can put that as my headcanon for all magic system works. And I just say that the non-binary power is something that they haven't discovered yet, but it's still there. And someday they will be able to explain everything to that.
They discovered the non-binary power. Lanfear did. It was great. It went really well. I don't know. I do like the idea of everything being able to like be tied together and explained, but I also really enjoy just the unknown of it all. And I get where you're coming from. I liked seeing, for people that couldn't see, there was a big joy in your eyes when you were talking about that. Yeah, and I loved it.
It was so good. It was so good.
Nerd,
anyway.
Science nerd.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, you're not. No. You're wonderful.
So
science stuff. So
I also read science stuff. I don't.
Yeah, I love fantasies that have like a magical system that can be explained with some sort of science. It's science fantasy. It's yeah.
And yet you don't like the ranking of the one power broken down into 72 different levels.
Because there's no need for that many levels.
It's unnecessary.
You can have like maybe 5.
It's incomprehensible.
5.
It's like, okay, but like typically that's one of the reasons why I love like Gideon's Nines and Harry's Nines, because they're basically like talking about theorems when they do necromancy, and I'm like, this is scientific. This is math. They are making math. They are making mathematics to raise the dead. I love that.
Aww.
I'm very basic, sorry. But
I love how much you love it.
Yeah, I'm a bad gay because I love math. Anyway, Matt, you had a game for us.
Oh, game time.
Oh, no.
Yes. Okay. So, everyone, just prepare to confront horror incarnate in a matchmaking game that will drive you to the limits of your sanity. Your tears will bring me decades of extended youth, and I cannot wait to see you all writhe under my contortions of matchmaking. Okay, so in this game, for those of us listeners or y'all listeners who James's face is like terrified. I love it so much.
I'm just scared.
Good. It's actually not that big of a deal. I've built it up so much that it's probably not going to be anything at all. But our listeners remember one of our first games was we picked random characters and we had to basically come up with a story on how they fall in love. And it was randomly generated. So I decided to do this, but instead of random characters, I select characters who are diametrically opposed in certain ways. And I took each of our co-hosts, one of their favorite characters, and put them with someone absolutely heinous that does not fit at all. And you each have to come up with a little story about how they came together. So I guess the way to do that, so who's the best at speaking off on the fly? We're going to go with James first.
Okay, yay.
James, your romantic pairing is going to be Perrin with Massima.
Ew.
I mean, at least they spend some time in the books in close proximity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess... okay. I guess... Okay, so when Perrin goes to the camp with Massima, being his whole prophet thing, let's say that Perrin actually gets seduced by it and decides to leave Fail, which, I mean, honestly, fine. And I feel like that's too easy, but I guess that's how it would have to work, wouldn't it?
For people not seeing, James looks broken right now.
It just hurts me to think about that.
I know.
My baby Perrin deserves better.
Yeah,
I know, sweetie, but this is...
But maybe you could fix Massima.
No, just kill him. I mean, who knows? Maybe Massima has like a giant horse cock. Like, maybe that's... Who knows?
And as we know, that fixes everything.
Hey, look.
It's the magic wand. It's the magic wand.
How do they make their emotional connection, James?
Massima seduces him with the words.
It's hate sex.
No, it's not hate sex. I think Perrin is like immediately becomes a sub for Massima.
Yeah, but okay.
And then he gets fucked doggy style a lot because that's how he do.
Uh-huh.
This is a Christian podcast.
Matt, you asked for this. I don't know.
This is a Christian podcast.
I don't know what you expected.
Since when?
Says the one who came up with this in the first place.
Right?
Is this sponsored by Pureflix?
Do you have anything else to add to your...
No, I don't have anything else to add. I'm sorry. They meet in the books. I'm just going to use that as an opportunity.
Well, okay. I'll give you a B- for that one.
That's generous.
You tried, sort of.
Okay, next.
Is Kat. Kat, you get Nynaeve.
Yes.
And
of course.
Cimarag.
Oh, fuck.
See, now this is the thing.
The one who lives to heal and the one who lives to torture.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm going to add a caveat to this.
Uh-huh.
You can't do an I can fix her thing.
Okay, yes. Can't do I can fix her. Can't do that. I'm so sorry, y'all. Not really.
Who am I?
I can corrupt her.
Oh.
Ooh, dark Nynaeve.
I can corrupt her isn't off the table.
Okay. So this is the thing. Because I feel like, I imagine at some point, Cimarag, like there's a basis of interest in medicine and interest in some kind of something with human anatomy. There's a basis there. And so at some point there was some kind of interest. And so it is the opposite. It is the opposite of I can fix her. It is I can corrupt her. And it's Cimarag guiding Nynaeve in the ways, like it's guiding her down her same path. Because there had to have been a point where Cimarag was like, you know what? What if I did this? And then she just got deeper and deeper into it, and she realized, actually, I like causing pain. And that's what happens. Matt, I hate this.
No, I love Nynaeve for this.
You know what?
You know what I hate the most, though? What?
I feel like it could be like Nynaeve trying to heal something and failing at that and being like, that person knows so much, maybe she does know.
Yeah.
And for example, if it was about she's trying to heal Rand's madness and whose could be
There's-
like a very appropriate person to ask, someone who is a good healer technically and who have maybe dealt with like other people madness before.
And it unlocks something in Nynaeve. That first moment when she opens that door just a little bit. When she opens that door just a little bit and is like, wait a minute. And she feels that thrill, and Semiragi is like, you see now. Now you see. And then they have sex.
And then they fuck.
That's the
Sponsored by Pureflix.
Sponsored by Pureflix, because Nynaeve already has that basis in probing Moghedien for information about all of the things. And so why not do it with Semirog? Why not?
Okay.
It's someone write this. Can someone write this? I don't want to write this, but can someone write this fic for me?
Does Semirog make Nynaeve kill Lan as a symbol of her love?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Okay.
Yeah, she does.
Nice.
That's exactly what she does.
Yeah, but she has to torture him a whole bunch first.
Because Semirog gets Nynaeve to see that what is holding her back, her block, it's centered around, like she gets into her mind, and she makes Nynaeve think that the reason Nynaeve isn't able to reach her full potential, it's because she's attached to Lan, and so she needs to get rid of him.
You're blocked by the cock, Nynaeve.
You're blocked by the cock.
Cock blocked. Okay,
that's it.
Kat, I'm impressed. You jumped into it, and you.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
That was brilliant.
Thank you.
You get an A. You get a good solid A for that.
Oh.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure Matt wanted to put me with Moraine, and I feel like can it be worse than Moraine and Tom?
Moraine and Tom.
That's the question.
No, part of my diabolical logic is that it has to be characters who are just so opposed to each other morally that you'd have to come up with a lot of mental gymnastics to make them go together. And this one I think is especially painful because I'm going to make you do Moraine, Camille, and she's going to get together with the woman who deposed her true love.
No!
Yes, Moraine and
Freaking
Elida.
Elida?
Yeah.
The instant panic. I cannot. I wish everyone.
Okay. Question. So you do not mention anything, so you do not mention any timeline.
We're going to go with the books.
No, but like what I mean is that my theory, one of the reasons why Elida hates Swan so freaking much and Moraine is because Elida got rejected by Moraine when Moraine was a lot younger. So for me, what's happening between Moraine and Elida was like, maybe I'd say, because I do, Elida got raised as Aes Sedai while Moraine and Swan were still accepted. So I would say that best theory is that Moraine and Swan were together. At some point, they get into a fight. They broke up for a bit. Moraine used Elida as a rebound because Elida is into women, and it was easy for Moraine to get into Elida's pants, and then Moraine and Swan make it up, and Moraine just dumped Elida, and Elida is eternally angry about that, and that's what led to the coup years and years later. And there you go.
Oh, but how do they get back together?
You didn't mention. You say they have to be romantically involved at some point. I'm sorry, a ship doesn't have to stay forever together.
Ooh.
That's a loophole. I'm taking the loophole there.
The coward's way, you mean?
The delight on Camille's face right now. That's a loophole.
The coward's way out. Okay, you were creative. I'll give you that. You were creative, but you took the coward's way out. So I'm going to put you at a B-.
Yay!
Oh, that's fine.
And that's my game.
That was good.
I don't have to do it because I came up with them.
Yeah, but what if we create a... No.
Okay, so you want to make me do one?
Galad and...
And
I don't know, I want to say Fail, but that would be easy.
that would be easy, I think. Galad and, let's see.
Moradin? No, that would be easy. Ooh, Galad and Cadsuane.
Galad and Kotswim. Okay, so Galad is doing his Heroes of the Light thing, and he's very committed to the ideas of justice, and he's very hard-headed. Well, during the last battle, the battlefields have to shift a little bit. He and Kotswim cross paths and recognize within each other their headstrongness, and Galad has already overcome his prejudice against the Aes Sedai, given that Elaine, despite being a total awful sister to him, is not pure evil, and he knows other characters who are Aes Sedai, so he's gotten over his Aes Sedai prejudice, and he's also just the more even-headed of the White Cloaks. So in this timeline, Galad's always been into the cougars, and Katsuan has always been a cougar. She's like, what, 300-something years old? I don't know, something like that. I put Rand with Asmodean in another episode, so we can put Galad with Katsuana, and so they cross paths during the last battle, and she is just so impressed by his discipline, his no-nonsense demeanor, and the way that he gets stuff done on the battlefield, and he's really impressed with how she wrangles the Aes Sedai, a group of women that he sees as out of control, and through their mutual admiration for one another, they start talking after the last battle, and it begins with exchanges of letters and notes, and he ends up becoming her warder because she's in the green, and one thing leads to another, and due to their, Galad's now extended lifespan, they have this magical connection, and at some point during post last battle White Tower politics, Galad sees Kadsuane during the hall and is just totally smitten with her, and they bang happily ever after.
I mean, okay, you mentioned something that I have to come back on. Extended lifespan. War don't have extended lifespan.
I thought they do.
No, they don't. They die at the same age.
Okay.
Okay, well, she just fucks him. It's simple. How do you come up with this? How is this just in your brain like this? That was impressive.
I'm a writer. I mean, I've been writing since I've been creating fiction since I was, 10. I wrote my first complete thing when I was 15. I wrote a novel when I was 18. So
yeah, that makes sense. You're very good at this.
It's a muscle. It's a muscle that is exercised. James is so pissed right now because they thought that they had me.
No, I'm horrified at what you described. I was putting in screenshots in the document, which I'm going to share on Twitter pretty quick, from me and Camille about because Kat, you were just living for it, whereas
I was great.
Whereas me and Camille were horrified, so I didn't include you in the screenshot.
Oh well, I mean, fuck my drag, right?
Fuck your drag.
That makes me think the picture you took of me without the glasses, that could make the I have many regrets emojis that we've been talking about making for a long time.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yes, your second face is amazing, James.
It's the face that I made when Matt said, and then they boned.
I think I said banged.
Banged. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a kombucha face.
That is the kombucha girl face, yeah.
I mean, look, ask and you shall receive. You asked for Galad and Katsuane, and you got it.
I did, and
It's true.
Now I have many regrets. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Queers of Time podcast. If you liked our show, please give us a review on Apple Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Queers of Time, as well as our Discord server. If you're able, we would love to have your support through Patreon. I'm sorry, wait, for Matt's friend that listens to our podcast. If you're able, we would love to have your support through Patreon. Patreon?
Thank you.
Just sounds wrong. We've got a lot of nice benefits there, and it helps us cover the cost of producing this podcast. Thank you. Patreon.
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 If you say Patreon, people are going to think that we're bougie fucks that can afford this.
No, they're going to think I'm a bougie fuck.
Well, you are, but the rest of us ain't.
Patreon.
We can't afford this.
Patreon.
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 I think we should say it
the French way.
Yeah.
Patreon.
That sounds good.
Patreon.
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 There you go. It's good.
C'est pas très bas, c'est pas très haut, c'est Patreon.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Ce soir,
Amazing.
Patreon. I'm sorry, Matt's friend.
Oh my god.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.